silence all your cell phones, electronic devices, and stand for the invocation given by council member Bayakowski.
Heavenly Father, we gather this evening to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our entire community and all our fellow citizens. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just to clarify a few things, we're presently in a special conference meeting because we have a resolution that is kind of time sensitive. That resolution is the urging of the restoration of video lottery terminal revenue in the state budget. Several municipalities that have been affected have signed on to similar type of resolutions. So this is what we're doing as well. So you've seen a copy of it that's been provided in the council packet. Are there any questions, concerns, or debates or concern there?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say the last meeting I recommended doing this. The county is doing it, passing some of the resolution in the town of Batavia. I hope our friends in Albany get about 1,000 of these resolutions. I mean, it's just something that's a nightmare, and I think that one person in Albany is really responsible for it. So I move to, we just forward it to the business meeting. Thank you.
Marty, do you want anything? Do you have anything to say in reference to it? I see you have a little memo attached to it.
The only thing I would like to say to it is we need that money restored. I think it's important and incumbent upon us as the City of Batavia. Assemblyman Hawley and Senator Renzenhofer are both calling for the restoration of the funds, and this would certainly support their efforts.
Right. Anyone else? So we're in consensus to move that to the next business meeting. Okay. Motion to close the conference meeting. Mr. Bayakowski, seconded by Mr. McGinnis. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Feely?
Yes.
Christino?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Okay. You've all had a copy of the January 2020 financials. Any questions or concerns in reference to those? So we in consensus approve those?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Mr. President. Actually, I had two questions. The workers' comp fund, the interest and earnings, is this correct? They've increased 776.17%.
Yep. Sure have.
You know, line it is, Bob, so we can find it.
It's in the second line under the comp fund. Under the comp fund, Marty. I mean, I think it's great if we pay that kind of increase in earnings. Or pass it down.
Circle item.
Thank you. Actually, yes, that would be correct. We have seen what, and let me explain a little bit of what's going on here with 3+1. We've been working together with them, and Heidi, as the clerk treasurer, has been working with them as well. Lisa Neary's been involved in the meetings, and they have gotten with us and talked to us about investment opportunities, and also assisted us in talking with the banks about investment opportunities. And those investment opportunities that have opened up an ability for us to yield higher interest rate returns on our funds, on investments, whether they're money markets or CDs, those types of low-risk investments. And the bottom line is now that we're doing that and starting to circulate the funds that we have that are, they're set aside in reserve that aren't being spent, and we know if they're not being spent, they can be invested. And as a result, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but I know that we're pushing upwards of potentially doubling this year our earnings. And the other thing you're going to be seeing, and when you see some lines with interest and earnings, and Heidi can correct me if I'm wrong here, but we're also taking advantage of some of these funds that maybe had not been put into the pool for investments in the past, and those funds are being judiciously invested. And so you'll see that percentage increase, I'm sure, will come down over subsequent years, but in our first year, as we're finding what we call the new low-hanging fruit to be able to invest and get good returns, and then we're doing that. And these are, again, are extremely low-risk investments, but frankly, because of the relationship that 3+1 has had with the banks and with the financial institutions, has helped us to be able to leverage some additional opportunities, and that's why you're seeing those numbers go up like you are.
Great. Hopefully we can continue on.
Absolutely.
And the other question I had was into the city center fund, interfund transfer in of $79,736. Is it for the roof or?
I don't know, but I can find out.
It's from reserves to pay for the roof.
Okay, thank you.
Not the entire roof, just the portion that's been used, expensive so far.
And then we'll be getting some of that back through among the grants.
I think the money actually came in originally from reserves, so it might be that some of it could come back through grants. We've got a couple of grants that haven't been activated yet, but they're going to be shortly. So.
Anything else? You've also had a copy of the February 2020 minutes.
Kelly's on his way.
Any questions or concerns or omissions that you noticed after going through those? Okay, so are we in consensus to approve both financials and minutes? Assignment of agenda items. 17-2020, the budget override, tax cap override. The budget ordinance 18-2020. Again. Hmm. 19-2020, the meter rates. Correct. 20-2020, the strategic plan for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. 21-20, the investment policy for the City of Batavia. 2020, the resolution for the parking lot capital reserve. Casino. 23-2020, the employee benefit liability reserve, amended budget. Again. 24-2020, a resolution adopting various capital improvement plans outlined in the 2019-2020 budget. It's Christian. 25-2020, the capital projects update and transfer funds for budget projects. Ms. Briggs. 26-2020, resolution to appoint members to various committees and boards. Ms. Casino. 27-2020, the amendments to the New York State Criminal Justice Reform and a resolution requesting. Actually, Mr. Brighthouse. Trying to spread it around.
Is it Paul or that?
28, 2020, the combined house insurance reserve fund. Mr. Healy. 29, 2020, the transfer of $100,000 from committed fund balance for the city's master plan. Briggs. 30, 2020, resolution transferring $27,711 from committed fund balance from the City of Batavia to unassigned fund balance. Mr. Seaman. 31, 2020, a resolution awarding purchase contracts for chemicals. Mr. McGinnis. 32, 2020, the zoning use of public repair garage, referring to the planning board. Mr. Valiakowski. 33, 2020, resolution for computers to be declared for salvage and disposal. And 34, 2020, resolution for the collective bargaining agreement with the police department. Ms. Briggs. Sorry, go on. Oh, I didn't see it. 35 is the restoration of the very law. That's the one that we just passed over from the conference meeting. Would like that one? Mr. Valiakowski. All right. So our picnic communications.
So Go Art submitted their application for picnic in the park on July 4th. This is 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Centennial Park.
Any questions or concerns in reference to that? Seeing the application in front of you. Okay.
That's it.
The next City Council Conference meeting will be held Monday, March 23rd, 7 p.m., City Hall, Council Boardroom, second floor, City Center. City Attorney's report?
Yes, Council President, members of council. We are, as usual, working on a variety of matters across the spectrum, ranging from tax foreclosure, contracts, general municipal questions from various departments, litigation and code enforcement matters, but there is nothing specific to report on at this time.
Any questions for the City Attorney in reference to that? City Manager's report?
Mr. President, members of the council, wanted to let you know that things are proceeding well downstairs in Theater 56. Most of the, if not all of the interior has been gutted and waste materials removed, so we're very grateful and appreciative that that's moving along. The MRI machine is out, and it was reported to me out and gone, so we're grateful for that as well. We are looking forward to Mr. Gauthier over at Save-A-Lot, who's come forward and received his incentives over at the county EDC here this last week, and we're waiting to hear on Ellicott Station from, and the word that I have, I called this afternoon to ask for an update, and the last word I have is HCR will make their decision anywhere between the end of March and the end of May, likely in April. So we're going to wait and see what happens there with that. All of their applications and those types of things have been submitted, everything's done. It's literally a waiting period now with the state. As far as some of the other DRI projects, you heard about several of those from Andrew with the storefront improvement projects. We also, the city has, and we're working on the RFP that will be dealing with Jackson Square on the design. We have a little bit of time on that, but at the same time, I think it's important to let you know that we've got that. I'm also talking with with Ed Flynn over at LaBella Associates about the next meeting for the mall feasibility study, and that's going to be coming along. I did want to give you a brief update on the Deer Committee. I wanted to let you know that the Deer Committee has expressed an interest in coming to see the council at the conference meeting here on the 23rd of March and giving you an update on where they're at and the directions that they feel they're heading in positive directions on trying to get something. We're already on the third draft of a draft deer management plan, and we're involving the state DEC Wildlife Division is involved in those. We get them on the phone and we're running our paperwork and materials by them too, and they're working up several different draft ideas. They're not just reinventing the wheel either. They've been in communication over there in Avon, Irondequoit, Depew, I think, and a couple of other communities that have got programs, and so we feel like that's moving along. It's a good group. We're getting work done. Their goal was to try to have something to you within a 3-month period, and so they're pushing hard to have something to you toward the end of April.
So, if I understand this correctly, no matter what we do, the DEC is going to be actively involved with the whole process, correct?
They're involved with us, making sure that if there's any criteria in state law that need to be met, that we're acting appropriately in that direction. And in addition to that, I've visited with the police chief, and anything related to safety and that kind of a thing, make sure he's updated and up to speed. So yes.
Any questions? Is there anything else?
There's plenty, but those are the highlights for now.
Committee reports.
Very quickly, on bid, they are announcing their annual meeting will be April 24th at the Generation Center at 8 in the morning, and that's for all people who are involved in the bid area.
March 2nd, the Sixth Ward Neighborhood Committee met, and we discussed numerous things, but they would like to have more patrols in our area. They would like the police to patrol the summit areas because apparently some stones are being tipped over now. They discussed landlords and the fact that there is furniture in the back of some of these tenant houses and they want it cleaned up with the debris. We talked about the security officer for the schools, and they think that maybe the school system should pay for it. And we have the Boy Scouts coming in April to help clean up the lawn for the elderly and the handicapped. Thank you.
I just want to add my own personal perspective to what Marty was talking about with the Deer Committee. I have never, ever served on a committee like this one. These guys are truly unbelievable. They from the first time we met, we formulated a direction that we wanted to head in. And these guys took off like crazy. I mean, they're out in the woods. These guys are literally out in the woods, checking out where the deer are, and scoping the territories that they think that we can work within. It's unbelievable. They're meeting at each other's houses on top of our weekly meeting. These guys are they've taken the ball, they've run with it, and they're really excited about what they're doing. And it just showed me, I said to them the last meeting, it just showed me what can happen when community members get involved with solutions to problems that affect them. It's just absolutely incredible to watch that. And I said, boy, that's something that we need to look at in the future, is involving the community on some of these committees and letting them help solve the problems of the city of Batavia. It's unbelievable. What a great group of guys I'm working with.
Well, that's good to hear, because I think we have a similar thing with the ice rink. People are kind of taking ownership of it, they're volunteering, they're getting involved, and I think that just makes it better for everybody when they get, actually show up and get right involved with it. So hopefully we'll have a really good investigation done on it. We'll have a lot of options, or at least a focused option, at least to solve the problems. Right. Looking forward to that report.
You'll be quite surprised.
Good. Anyone else?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. In the parade, I've submitted an application to the Air Force to hopefully we get an aerial flyover KC-135. Submitted an application to the military for ground support. Med is submitting an application to the state for street closure. I've filled out the request and submitted it to the clerk. I've also notified an initial notification of police and fire department for their participation, and we're moving forward with that. And then in closing, Mr. President, maybe we could have the fire chief, who I saw a little while ago, right in the middle of Petticoat Fire, and I think he might have had a clean shirt with him, but he was leading the charge, and it was on the corner of Summit and Washington. Maybe we could just get him, hopefully he's out. All right, let us know.
I don't know if this is appropriate at this point, but we can talk to him after the meeting and find out. I mean, this is probably an ongoing thing, so just installing, I would appreciate that. Public comments?
Yes.
All speakers should have signed up in advance for the city clerk, with the city clerk. Each speaker will please use the podium. Please state your name and address before beginning your statement. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. Please address your comments to the chair. Council will not engage in debate with the speaker. First bell, you have 30 seconds. Please wrap it up because on the second bell, I'm going to have to stop you in mid-sentence. So,
Robert Gray.
My name is Bob Gray, 8922 Fargo Road, Stafford, New York. I come before you tonight as a rink user for 26 years to ask for your support in making needed improvements at the VLT Ice Arena. This rink has always had community support in the past. When I tried writing something to convey the support, words would not come. Looking through research papers that I had previously collected, I came across the Batavia Daily News editorial from June of 2007, written by then publisher Tom Turnbull. Under the headline, "Supporting the Ice Arena is a good deal for the City of Batavia," he wrote, "What the City of Batavia needs is to find ways to attract people to our downtown area, to bring people into our city to spend their money and help support our local businesses. What the City of Batavia really needs is more youth activity for our kids, someplace where they can go and be safe and off the streets and get much needed exercise, especially during those long winter cold months. But our taxes are already way too high. We need to cut expenses, and the city needs to find other sources of revenue other than taxes to offset these taxes." We hear these type of statements every day, whether it's posturing of our local politicians or the lament of frustrated city taxpayers gathered at the local coffee shops and watering holes. What is curious is we already have a venue that fulfills all these needs but seems to get very little respect for its value to the city lately. It's called the Batavia Ice Arena. Yes, the much maligned Batavia Ice Arena. For more than 20 years, now going on 42, the Batavia Ice Arena, or the Royal Rink as it was previously known as, has attracted people from all over New York, Pennsylvania, and even Canada to our little town to play hockey at the Evans Street facility. Entire families come with their kids and they spend money in our local restaurants, hotels, and other venues. Ask Tim Hortons and Wendy's and Oliver's and the local pizza shops that the ice arena has been good for their business. Ask the hotel managers how many rooms they have booked over the years to hockey teams and their families. These are the type of tourism dollars that the Chamber of Commerce works so hard to attract to our region. Dollars that help support our local businesses who, by the way, pay taxes in our city. Lots and lots of taxes. But the VLT Ice Arena, as it is now known, is not just about hockey. Stop in on a February weekend when there's open skating, and you'll be amazed at the number of kids of all different ages skating and having fun in a safe, controlled environment. The arena is used year-round with rollerblading and other activities available in the summer months. Well said, Tom. Well said. The situation of 2007 remains the same today as it did 13 years ago. Before the City Council approves more money investing in its future, I would hope that they would reinvest in what they already own, the VLT Ice Arena. Thank you.
Nancy Ewert.
Hi, my name is Nancy Ewert, and I live at 4 Charles Street in Batavia. And I know that tonight your plan is to vote on surpassing the cap for taxes. And I would challenge you that I have some serious questions about the budget that you have proposed that puts yet another high burden on the back of the taxpayers of this community. I do not know how you can justify adding administrative personnel and positions and raises that are above the national norm when you have decimated the youth budget, you've frozen or cut the fire and the police department, and I have to be honest with you, as your customer, I don't see the value in the dollar of what you have proposed to this community. And so to come to us and say, gosh, we just can't find a better way to do this, so here you go, we'd like you to pay 8% more. I'd like to say to you, no, thank you, I'm not interested in buying what you're offering. And I would like to know from the council, when you have a chance to respond, what it is you feel justifies that increase. Because I'm looking in your budget, and I see things cut, and I see things that just make absolutely no sense. We have a youth issue in this community, and for you to take that budget down to non-existent is unconscionable. And I really think you need to go back to the drawing board and seriously consider, is this the time to be adding positions? And I read your minutes on your private meeting, because there's projects you would like to see done. There's projects in my home I'd like to see done, but I can't afford them because my taxes are already too high. So for you to raise money for your projects on my back and the backs of the other taxpayers is unacceptable. Thank you.
John Roach?
John Roach, 116 Grandview Terrace. Like everybody else, I'm not happy with a 7% tax increase. I know you people aren't. You have to pay the same tax increase that you're going to vote. There's really no wiggle room now. Today is actually pretty much the last day for the budget process. But I'd like to remind everybody that it's not the fault of the Republican City Council or the OTB or the Batavia Downs or any of those other people. This whole fiasco is strictly the fault of the Democrat governor of the state of New York. If he had taken the VLT money, none of this would be an issue. People might say, well, you should have relied on the VLT money. You can make that argument. But without the VLT money, now you know the real cost of the services that are being provided, even at the reduced service rate that you're going to end up with. So before anybody tomorrow, the keyboard warriors, get there and say, oh, they should have done this, should have done that. We never see them for the last 3 months. Just remember, it's the governor and the Democrat Party in Albany that did this to you. Thank you very much.
Council response?
Yeah, one thing I take issue with Ms. Ewer. We never had private meetings. All our meetings are open to the public. I do not recall us ever going into a closed-door meeting and saying the public's not welcome or can't come in.
Or even taking minutes in an executive session. There's no minutes taken there because it's usually a personnel matter or something.
There's no action.
It's a private matter, right.
There's no action. And the other thing, I agree with Mr. Roach. We've all worked real hard. And one thing that hasn't been addressed, all the years we've been taking VLT money and using it. See, I've heard the same thing. Well, you shouldn't have used the VLT money. Well, what should we have done with it? Put it under our pillow at night? Put it in the basement? Of course we used it. We have to use the money. We put it in the budget, we use the money, and that's kept the taxes low for quite a few years now. And maybe people would have been happier if we just jumped their tax every year like some cities do, and they get people in the habit of, oh boy, every year we get a tax increase, tax assessment, and all that stuff. Yes, we have used the money for our budgetary reasons. And, you know, it's a crisis. I hate paying taxes as much as anyone. But I think everyone here has done a lot of work. So we're doing the best we can. Thank you.
John?
Just to piggyback on what Bob said, I asked the question in the budget meeting when all this came about. As I recall, quite a few years ago, our city manager at the time, Jason, warned us about using the VLT money, and so we never used it. We kept it in a reserve fund for when a playground needed redoing or we needed something nice in the community, and it was our little slush fund. And the state came to us and said, because I asked, when did we start using this? Why did we start using this? We never did. We always had a policy not to put it in the budget. And I was told that the state demanded that we start using that money, that we can't just put it in a reserve fund anymore. We have to use it towards operating costs. So it was dictated to us that we needed to use that money. If not, we would have still been putting it in the slush fund someplace. And we would have found ways around it, but they forced us to use that. And that's part of the reason why the public, we and the public, have enjoyed a level tax rate for quite a few years. And if it wasn't level, it was a slight increase, well under 1% a year. So, and we maintained all the services that we've maintained over the years. We haven't had to cut any services. So like Bob says, unfortunately, this was an event that we weren't expecting. I'll remind the public, up until this point, the budget that was proposed to us was a 0.97% increase, less than 1%. And unfortunately, the governor decided he needed our money, so we have to give it to him now. And if you all want services that we continue to enjoy, there's no other way around it at this point. Hopefully next year, like Gino says, hopefully now we've got 12 months to plan ahead in case we don't get this money back, and who knows if we'll ever get it back now. But that's no different than, if your boss was to come to you and say, things have been a little bit slow this year, I need to pay my bills, I'm going to take 10 grand out of your pay this year. You're going to have a difficult time making your personal budgets at home. And that's what Governor Cuomo came to us and said, I'm sorry, I'm taking your $440,000 that you had last year, and I need it to close my budget. So now you guys figure out what you're going to do. It's none of us are happy about it. And again, I'll praise our staff and our city manager for instantly reacting and cutting everything that they could possibly cut that wouldn't kill our community. And unfortunately, we're all going to have to deal with that. And it's sad, but it's the case, like Mr. Rhodes said. This is what the governor has decided.
Just a thought here. Just to give a little history, 3 years ago, when the nursing home became privatized and it went on the tax rolls, that affected the formula for our tax cap. At that point, we had to lower the taxes. But to meet the tax cap and the amount of money that was coming in for the nursing home actually put us behind. So that's when the first year when we started tapping in to that to balance it out, and then 2 years of zeros. And then this surprise now, and again, we were caught so off guard. This was like at the last possible minute. We had our first budget meeting planned. We were there, we showed up, and it was like, we can't have a meeting because this budget isn't going to work now. We have to go back and figure out how we're going to close this $700,000 gap. Where did that other money come from? Workman's comp increase, various other increases came about that we took on over the year. Put a school resource officer in the schools. We knew that was going to be a little additional cost going forward. The state enacted another law, the discovery and the bail reform. That put more work on our police department. We had to absorb that cost and figure out how to handle that. We're still in the process of doing that. So all these little mandates on top of taking that money away, and we still have to provide services to Batavia Downs, the majority of which is in the city, and we're not now offset or compensated for it. So that's how all that came about, and we're, because of the emergency nature of it, we're only thinking of this as a temporary measure because this cannot hold. Because we will have to exceed the tax cap every year if we don't figure out a way to get around this. So this is a temporary thing. When I look at it, after 12 months, I would not be in favor of any large tax increase next year because we would have plenty of time to trim this thing down starting like tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to have to find a way, pretty much have $500,000 of permanent cuts going forward because I don't see this money ever coming back. So, and we're not going to exceed the tax cap every year. I'm not in favor of that. So at this point, this was the last minute, somewhat of an emergency measure of cutting and taxing, neither of which were good ideas, but we really were left no choice, as Councilmember Canale stated. So at this point, that's where we're at on it. It wasn't an intention. It wasn't like we built a building that we really couldn't have afforded or anything like that. This was like all the best planning just crumbled down on top of us because there was nothing we could do about it. But again, now there's no excuse. 12 months from now, I would hope that we have a plan and we have worked out ways to thin things out so that we can maintain the important resources that we provide to the community and that we don't have to tax in such large amounts like this going forward. It's just not acceptable. So if there's anyone else that has any other comments, I'd like to jump in, we'll move forward. Unfinished business. Okay. Resolution 17, 2020. Councilmember Bayakowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a resolution to adopt local law number 1 of the year 2020 to override the tax cap limit for the budget fiscal year commencing April 1st, 2020.
Seconded by Ms. Briggs. Now, just so you know, you got an amended version that was sitting on your desk. It really didn't change anything. George, you want to explain, we had it like adopted or something, and everything, just the wording changed a little bit?
I didn't actually get the agenda until today, and unfortunately, the agenda that went out last week to council included the introductory resolutions rather than the adoption resolutions. So the underlying documents didn't change, it's merely the adoption language, which was put in the various 3 or 4 resolutions relative to the Local Law 1, Local Law 2, the BUD ordinance, and the water rates, as well as strategic plan. There was adoption language added to that as well.
Okay, just wanted to make sure why we had another packet that was just thrown in there. So, anyone have any other statements or anything to make?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Well, now it's time to show what we're made of. We've been through heck for the last month. We're here tonight to make some really difficult decisions. We must vote on exceeding the property tax cap and also this year's budget. My position, I for one absolutely despise property taxes on homeowners. You spend your whole life working to save and buy a home, and then you're penalized with taxes for all your efforts. But we all need to navigate through this and do what is best for the entire community. This isn't a ward issue. This isn't a sidewalk issue or a sewer issue. We've worked very hard on this budget. I know we have some new people here, citizens. I wish you were here during some of our workshops. And it was apparent at our last meeting that some of the council members were unhappy about a tax increase, and rightfully so. I don't think any of us are happy about it. But we all had our chance for increase. Just so everyone knows, we had an initial budget that was this segment. We all went through it. We were all set to come to a budget meeting, workshop, right in the trash, start over. As you can see, this is full of Post-it notes, paper clips, everything else. We dissected this budget, every single line item. Every one of us gained some and lost some. No, there were no winners. We're all losers in it. And we need to get through this. So I hope no one comes here tonight and votes no just because they don't want to pay a tax increase. This would be a huge disservice to the community, and it's not a solution. I didn't hear one single solution offered by anyone through the budget workshops. No one come up and say, well, I have a solution as to how to not increase taxes. And if anyone feels they must vote no, I hope they can at least get up and state what they want to cut. Fire service, police protection, snow removal, everybody wants their own things in there, but they want to cut something else. Well, who knows what it is. But now it's a time for everybody here to set aside your personal projects and preferences and approve this budget, because if we don't, the city's not going to be able to function. It's not going to be able to move forward. We've already discussed the reasons why we're stuck with this to no end. Our friends in Albany. As a matter of fact, our governor today was on TV at 11 o'clock selling soap. This is what Albany has come down to. So tonight's not a time for political pandering. We have to do what's best for the city. So I move this resolution, and hopefully we can get through this. Thank you.
I have a question. You're most likely referring to me because I came in the last minute.
I'm not referring to
good.
anyone.
At least we have that straight now. Now you asked if there's some things that we could possibly do or cut tonight. We certainly can. Our New York State official handbook for people that are elected call for police, fire, DPW. It doesn't call for organizations, it doesn't call for police escorts, it doesn't call for celebrations, okay? Let's get that understood. As far as the parks go, $395,000 to take care of our stinking little parks in the city of Batavia. Are you kidding me? Plus some of the races that we have, ridiculous, and that's what I have to say.
Okay,
and I'm not going
do your recommendations come up to $700,000?
No, but it comes up to maybe 300,000, I'm sorry, maybe a couple $100,000. I also gave our manager last week a list of things that I thought we could do, okay? That's it.
Yeah, I understand where Rose's coming from, or Senator Bob's talking about it. Don't dictate how to vote, okay?
Yeah.
The way I want to vote, and it's not a political thing or a war thing, I will vote the way I want to vote.
That's absolutely your choice.
You got it? Okay, thank you. Yeah, done.
Thanks. I wanted to make sure. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say in reference to this? One question, Matt, could you just briefly explain why, isn't the whole DPW budget parsed out and it's basically into different departments so that it's spread out for various reasons? Could you just explain why the parks show $395,000 and it's really not just the parks at $390,000? It's not just like we're hiring extra people or anything, right?
No, absolutely not. The Public Works garage, the garage itself has about 25 employees. Their salaries are split up amongst parks, snow removal, street work, sewers, things of that nature. So the water is typically the water bureau. There's no water funds that go over to the highway garage. But when you see parks with those funds, some of that is a portion of salaries that are assigned to that, as well as mowing it, maintaining the equipment, things that go along with it. So, during the winter, the employees hardly are charged to parks at all, but they're primarily charged to snow removal. So it's not like you could just necessarily remove part of that. You're removing part of a salary, not an entire position. And virtually all the employees of Public Works are split amongst those different departments. Like I said, I could go through, but it's water, sewer, parks, snow removal, street maintenance, gravity sewers. Like I said, so it's the same 24, 25 employees, but their paycheck is actually split amongst every, all
They're
those
wearing different hats, so it's
Right.
unlike the fire department, when they're fire personnel, it's like fire all the way here. It's breaking up. And doesn't it also cover like the part-time school, or not school, but the parks program and those part-time employees? Does that cover that too, or no?
The recreation, I believe, is out of the Jocelyn's. We do have the part-time, summer kids, seasonal summer kids, things of that nature as well. But when the guys are actually working, they assign their timesheets to wherever they were. So that's where at the end of the year, quite often they're doing budget transfers because there was more efforts done in one part versus another. And at the end, we have to transfer stuff around to cycle it.
So this is like a rough guesstimate based on the time they spent.
Based on historical efforts, but invariably there is something that happens where all of a sudden a whole lot of effort gets put in one spot versus another, and you have to balance it out at the end of the year. But the guys mark that in their timesheet, so it's accounted for in the departments and where that's spent, and that creates really a history of accounting of where those efforts are and what those costs are into each of the areas. So yes.
Now, and this, correct me if I'm wrong in this, when they do different jobs, aren't they paid at different scales? Even like if they're driving a truck for snowing, snowplow, or if they're just doing something else, do they get paid differently? Or?
No, that's not it. There is typically we have two classifications in the Public Works garage. The mechanics are kind of standalone, I guess. We have heavy equipment operators and then laborers. And so a lot of those different classifications have gone away over the years. There's really just the two classifications, and that's pretty standard across the board. We used to have some pieces of equipment, they had a premium pay to it because they were specialized pieces of equipment. That has all gone away. So really, all those different iterations and premium pays, that has all gone away. We kind of standardized through negotiation, through the bargaining units with that.
Any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Anyone else? Call the roll.
Councilmember Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
No.
Pacino?
Regretfully, yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
No.
Okay, resolution 18, 2020. Mr. McGinnis.
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution to adopt the 2020-2021 budget ordinance.
Seconded by Briggs. Any questions or concerns?
Yeah, we have to vote to raise our own property tax.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
No.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
No.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
Resolution 19, 2020, Ms. Briggs.
I move a resolution to adopt local law number 2 of 2020 entitled "A Local Law Amending Sections 184-41, A, B, C, and O of the Batavia Municipal Code to establish new water rates, meter fees, and capital improvement fees."
Seconded by Mr. McGinnis. Any questions or concerns?
Yeah, we forgot to include this with the tax increase. Now it's almost 11%. But, you know, that's okay. Let the tax
I'm confused, where did you get 11%?
Well, the 7.48 plus 3.5, what do you come up with?
Okay, it doesn't work that way.
Okay, how's it work?
Okay, the water is your water bill.
Yes,
And it's
I
all-
realize it, but
It's like, excuse me, you asked me a question and you wouldn't let me answer, okay? The water portion of your bill is only a portion of it, it's not the whole bill. So if you have $100 bill quarterly, part of that is water, that's the smaller part, that's the tax increase on that. And if you remember what Matt said, and he can come up and tell you again, these were planned increases to cover major street repair and infrastructure improvements, knowing years down the road we were going to have to fix these things. So we planned this in as a gradual increase to cover these major sewer repair, water repairs. So what did we figure, Matt? The average bill is like $3 a bill increase?
It would be approximately a typical bill, for water is less than $100, so 3% of that.
But only part of the water part.
Right, so I think it was a little over, I don't have the numbers right at my fingertips, but I think it was typically $2 and something a quarter for a typical bill.
So it's $2 and something cents a bill times 4 bills, that's the increase to pay for, there's some major capital improvements that are planned on some streets, correct?
And when we've done some of the projects that have been built recently, there's quite a lot of water work's been done in the last couple of years. Some of that is going out for bonding, so that payment is what some of that is built in as well to pay for that financing moving forward, in addition to the planned improvements we're doing, the upcoming years through the water system.
And I think I asked you about it, like, is it in dire need? And you said, no, we're being proactive because at some point it's going to collapse and then we're going to have like an emergency in January trying to fix things, right?
The water system in the city is about 100 years old, so, that's, it's not unique to the, in the Northeast, it's, Batavia's not unique that way. However, those investments need to be made into there to try to, to keep the system robust and dependable.
So we're planning as far ahead as we can to make sure that we don't end up with surprises that cost even more money to try to dig up a street and patch it and then eventually go back in the summer and try to repair the whole street anyway. So that's an additional cost we would have. It's just, it makes sense. That's why this is built.
I just want to say,
Before you stole money.
Excuse me.
wait. I just want to say a lot of these improvements too, like I said, we needed it desperately, like on Brooklyn Avenue, South Main Street, like you said, places, Union Street, that we needed it desperately. Do you have this replacement?
We don't, it's just passing it, kicking the can down the road, it's just going to collapse at some point and streets will be without water at some point. We're not at that level, but I mean, we want to make sure.
Some of it is regulatory driven as well. We're seeing the new lead and copper rule, and one of the projects moving forward is starting the replacement of lead services in the system. We made certainly some headway, but there's a bigger project coming up this year to do some of that, and that's going to be a project that goes for the next probably 20 years to try to remove all those lead services in the system.
Yeah, I have to say that last year, they did Union Street, and it was an extremely well-organized, well-run program. I think Matt pushed the pencil quite a bit, got a lot of free stuff for us, and besides eliminating the water line under the street, we put a new water line under the sidewalk, which bingo, on one side of the street got a new sidewalk, which is ADA accessible, which really drives the cost up. It's double what the cost was just a few years ago. And we get a street repaving out of it. So as long as they keep moving forward doing it that way, I think we're getting a real bargain, even though it's millions of dollars. But the old water lines definitely reached their life limit some years ago. So I'd just like to thank Matt and his crew for all the work.
So, I mean, I had that same question, why are we raising it? Every once in a while, we don't talk about it, suddenly it just shows up. And this is why. It's part of a plan, several-year plan ahead, so that we're not caught off guard, and we're trying to be proactive on it. So that's where that comes from. Anyone else have any? Go ahead.
I feel the pain. I feel the pain. Every time I have to pay my water bill, it drives me nuts. My water bill is well over $200 a quarter, and it just drives me nuts. And I get angry. But at least I have the knowledge, because I'm in this seat and not that seat, of what that money goes to. And every time I turn my faucet on, or every time I hop in the shower, I got clean, good quality water. I have a lot of friends that live out in the country that the minute that the county offered water, they signed up right away because they have so many problems with well water. They got to buy water. So every time I turn my faucet on, I think at least I've got good quality, clean water coming. And that's what we have here in the city. And it doesn't come free. And I know it. And even though I got to pay all that money, it's good quality water, and I don't have to deal with it. So I have to pay for it. And so I understand where the water department's coming from. I understand that this has been in the makings for many, many years to build up a fund to continue with these improvements that are needed. Our system's 100 years old. If your system at home is 100 years old, you just hope that your pipes don't break and your sewer doesn't back up, and because you know how expensive it is to have that repaired just for your own home. So I feel the pain, Nancy. I feel that pain. I feel it every time I pay that bill. But and I feel that pain every time I have to say yes, raise the rates. So I feel both sides. I understand.
My point is, it's just another tax, that's all. That was my point.
Understood.
Okay.
But, as I look at it, as long as it's going towards infrastructure and not a frivolous project, that we have to maintain. This is what you said earlier, police, fire, DPW. The DPW part is maintaining that infrastructure, and we expect to turn that faucet on and have water come out of there, and we expect to, the drain to not plug up because the city sewer is backed up somewhere. We expect those services, and we take it for granted every time we do the dishes or whatever. But unfortunately, we pay that bill. And it's not any easier doing business in New York for us any more than it is for anyone else who lives here, where it's part of the debacle that the state keeps pushing down onto us. So, it's just the way it is. With new services and new regulations, we have to adjust to that, and that's something years ago maybe we saw, but maybe now it's getting more urgent. We got to get on it. So, any other questions or concerns? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
No.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2020, Mr. Beal.
Council President, I move to work on resolution adopting the City of Batavia strategic plan for fiscal year 2021.
Second by Mr. Bayakowski. Any questions or concerns? A copy of the strategic plan was in your main binder book. I kind of sent you an email to look it over, and it's available if anyone wants to read it, but it basically talks about assessing services and making partnerships to kind of keep costs down, public engagement, and focus on what's important, like we said, our core services, which are police, fire, public works. So that's a good plan, and we're trying to get ahead of it by looking ahead, not just 1 year at a time. We're trying to look, if we do things this year, can we have a problem down the road, or will it make it easier for us so we're not caught off guard, and we're not caught off in these projects. So it's an interesting read. It pretty much outlays everything we plan to do in the next couple of years. So if no one has any questions on it, we'll move right on to the vote. Call the roll.
Councilmember Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes. Resolution 2120, Mr. Beal.
Council President, I move a resolution authorizing the adoption of an investment policy for the City of Batavia, New York.
Second by Mr. Christian. Any questions or concerns? Marty, do you want to just cover?
Yeah, no real concerns. The only thing that really was changed in there, in the previous investment policy, there was a dollar limitation on an amount that could be invested with any one particular bank or financial institution. And at the recommendation of 3+1, they suggested that we take that limit off. In today's world, we know that our funds are collateralized, and so there's not an issue with our funds being covered and insured. And with that in mind, that's really the only change that's in there. We still have the list of institutions that we'll be doing business with. And we feel like now we've got a good financial plan for investment going forward.
I think our investments are paying off. We are seeing a remarkable increase than we normally would have seen doing investments on our own. So we are, trying to find those extra sources of income. We're going to need them going forward. So hopefully that blossoms even more into more income for us, and that would help offset the taxes for next year. We're going to need that. So anyone have any questions there? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes. Resolution 22, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a resolution transferring $3,075 to the parking lot capital reserve fund.
Seconded by Mr. Beal. Any questions or concerns? Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Resolution 23, 2020. Again,
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution transferring from the employee benefit accrued liability reserve and to amend the budget.
seconded by Ms. Briggs. Questions or concerns? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
Resolution 24, 2020. Ms. Christian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move a resolution adopting various capital improvements plans outlined in the 2020 budget.
Seconded by?
2020, 2021. She said 19.
Any questions or concerns?
Do I need to count for correction?
Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Yes.
Canali? McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Resolution 25, 2020. Ms. Briggs?
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution to establish and update current capital projects and transfer funds for capital project budgets.
Seconded by Mr. McGinnis. Any questions or concerns? Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Resolution 26, 2020. Tina?
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution to appoint members to various city committees and boards.
Seconded by Bayakowski. You want to cover who we're appointing and why?
Yes, indeed. It's Carolyn Hunter, who is appointing historical preservation, and I'm being reappointed to work with that, and both of those people definitely live here in Batavia.
No one else.
Yes. Candy Mayor Councilperson, City of Batavia. Yes.
All right. Any other questions or concerns in reference to that? Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Resolution 27, 2020. Bayakowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a resolution requesting amendments to New York State criminal justice reforms.
Second by Ms. Christian. Any questions or concerns?
This is just another example of something Albany has done to the entire state to raise our cost of doing business, where the cost of prosecution has really increased in discovery and everything else. So this has been a banner year for Albany, shoving things down our throat.
Just a little note here. I still subscribe to a lot of the police mailings and websites and so on. And I get this noticed the other day, because one of the legislators in Albany, actually the Assembly Speaker, insisted that nobody's given any hard data on the effects of this problem. And so New York City Police Department, who keeps copious records, immediately jumped on the bandwagon and basically reported that just in their city alone, not the state, but they've kept records, there was 1,482 suspects busted for serious felonies and released, and 846 of them committed new crimes. Okay? So if you look at the math, and I'm not going to read the whole article, but if you look at the math, between the same time period last year and now, they're actually up by 805 additional major crimes. So it's ironic that that number is very close. I could see 30 or 40 would be fluctuating based on various other factors, but the fact that 1,400 people were released, 846 new crimes were committed by those released people, and that jumped the crime stats 30% from the same time last year, which made it 803 more serious crimes this year than there was last. So if they're saying there's no hard data, that's pretty hard data right there. And it's only the first 2 months out of the year. I mean, I'm sure that number is not going to get lower in the next few months. It's going to be frozen, and then any additional statistics will be added to that 803. So just that's why we're doing this. We're not alone. We're seeing effects here locally. Larger cities are seeing dramatic effects, and we're seeing effects right here in our own community where people are being released, and at some point, sometimes they just go right out and commit another crime 50 days later. So, just a thought.
I think I'd like to point out, we have a lady here lives on Charles Street, a quiet street like that. Who would think what you have just experienced?
I mean, that's what I thought when she said where she was from. I thought she was going to make a comment about the tragedy that occurred over there where everyone's lawn got drove over. And they did find the person, and that's good, but, you know, what are you going to get from somebody who has nothing? You're not going to fix anything. So that's why we're doing this. We're a bunch of, several communities are doing this. I believe the county did something similar to this. So we're going to do the same thing. So any other questions or concerns? We'll call the roll, please. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Just one. The reason we're in the pickle we're in with our finances and the subsequent bail reform is all because filthy Democrats have done this to us. Every Democrat, to me, is nothing more than a criminal.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely? Yes. Vecino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 28, 2020. Councilmember Reed.
Mr. President, I move a resolution to combine health insurance reserve funds.
Seconded by Ms. Briggs. Any questions or concerns? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Veely? Vecino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes. Resolution 29, 2020. Ms. Briggs.
Council President, I move a resolution transferring $100,000 from committed fund balance to unassigned fund balance after completion of the city's comprehensive master plan.
Seconded by? Martin, do you want to explain about that? I mean, wasn't this money we were given and we budgeted for?
This is money that the city had budgeted for. And
Several years ago.
yeah, we did. The project was completed. Any possible expense has been gone against these funds. And this was $100,000 that's left that was committed. And in order to be able to utilize that money in the future for other matches for capital projects or whatever, or for example, for if we want to go forward with some of the zoning downtown that tied to the comprehensive plan, we need to be able to uncommit the funds and get them back into the unassigned fund balance.
So basically, this is more of transfer of surplus money from that project back into the town.
Right, leftover money back in so that it can be used for other purposes, yes.
So we were basically under budget when we did the comprehensive plan, or we just budgeted too much?
not being here, the only thing I can guess is they found some cost savings, as several of our department heads are wont to do. The funds are committed based on opinions of probable cost, and then they work to get our best prices possible for the product that we get, and they were able to come in under cost. So.
Any other questions? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Christian? Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Resolution 30, 2020, Ms. Pacino.
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution issuing transferring $27,711 from the committed fund balance related to Vibrant Batavia to unassigned fund balance.
Seconded by? Any questions or concerns? Just a little bit of history on that. There was a time when we were putting a lot of money towards Vibrant Batavia, and we weren't really seeing a return on our investment. We got some public feedback on it, so we had to make a decision at that time to, pretty much not fund that going forward. There was some money left in that account. There was a little more than, I believe, $27,000, but I think we transferred some out of there at a later time. And we left that in there in case it rekindled, or if there was a need or a rainy day, and we definitely had a rainy day, so we pulled that out and we're using it towards other things. So that's where we're at on that. So call the roll.
Councilmember Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs? Christian? Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
31, 2020, Mr. Gaines.
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution awarding the purchase contracts for chemicals.
Seconded by Ms. Padilla. Any questions or concerns? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes. Resolution 32, 2020, Mr. Bayakowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a resolution referring the review of permitted zoning use of public repair garage in the Batavia Municipal Code to the Planning and Development Committee.
Second by Mr. Veely. Any questions or concerns? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Resolution 33, 2020, Mr. Veely.
President, I move a resolution to declare computers, computer equipment, electronics, and electronic equipment, and other information technology equipment surplus for the purpose of salvage and disposal.
Second by Ms. Pacino. Any questions or concerns? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Veely?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Resolution 34, 2020, Ms. Briggs.
Thank you, Council President. I move a resolution approving the collective bargaining agreement with the Police Benevolent Association, PBA.
Seconded by Ms. McKenna. Questions or concerns?
Gino, I'd just like to make a comment. When these collective bargaining sessions come about every few years, that we have to renegotiate contracts, it's always a lot of give and take, and a lot of work goes into the negotiation process between city management and the association that we're dealing with. And I just want to say that in all of that give and take, never once does the city of Batavia take for granted the services that our police department provides for us. They do an unbelievable job. We're very, very fortunate to have the young men and women in the city that do this every day and put their lives at risk for us. The city of Batavia is no longer like the city of Batavia was when I grew up. If you were a cop in this town when I grew up, you had a pretty easygoing job. It's not like that anymore today. And we really appreciate your services and your protection. Just wanted to let them know that as we come to an end with the negotiation process.
Anyone else? Okay, call the roll.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Bailey? Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 35, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a resolution supporting and urging the restoration of VLT, video live terminal.
Second time. Ms. Briggs?
Can we take this vote in unison and all yell yes?
I'm
Everybody
sorry.
can join in.
I'm sorry, but that's not protocol. You know, it not to beat to death, but I mean, it was very disappointing to get that news that we were going to be really falling short at a time when we have so many great things going on in the community. We have Theater 56 broke ground, one of the first projects for the DRI money. Others are right behind them, very close behind. You're going to see some big transformative things happening downtown throughout the summer. The mall roof will get repaired. It was all capital projects with separate money that was planned long ago. We're not going to stop on that. So the mall's going to get cleaned up, and there's $1 million waiting there. The steering committee will figure out a way to spend that state money to improve our main building downtown. So, I mean, we're focusing on the bad, but there is a lot of good things going on. I went to a meeting at GoArt in reference to some grant money they were giving out to local artists, and some of these grant amounts were like $250. And these people, these musicians were so happy to get that money because they're just trying to cover moving expenses for their equipment to put 3 concerts on, and maybe the Village of Corpus, people rely on them, and it's such an important thing. The point I was trying to make is it was a Tuesday night. I couldn't find a parking space on Main Street. I couldn't find a parking space anywhere. I basically had to park almost way over here next to Thompson's. So I'm thinking to myself, either this building is full of people at this event. I didn't realize it was that popular. Well, it was people there, but that was not an amount for the cars that I saw. So here's a Tuesday night. Our downtown was packed. There was not a parking space to be had anywhere on the street. So they're enjoying something, either the restaurants or something downtown. And that was really nice to see on a Tuesday at 7 o'clock at night. Main Street just packed with parked cars and people walking all over the place. You think it was a Friday or Saturday. So, right. So there are some things happening, and that's a positive thing, and that was a direct, with my own eyes, I saw that. So we are having some good things. Not all of them are bad and doom and gloom. We're going to carry on. We're not going to give up on it. We're going to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I spoke with one of our legislators the other day. Unfortunately, we're losing this huge chunk of money to us. The racetrack, the casinos had a record year. They're paying a big chunk of money to the county. And I did speak with the legislator, and we discussed possibly the county giving something to the city. However, because of Albany, they have to build a new jail now. Like we're faced with building a new police station, another mandate, and that money's a drop in the bucket for what it's going to cost. Legislator that lives in the city, one of ours, and he says, I feel sympathy for you, but we're up against it like you guys are. So
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
And they've been threatening them for years to build a new jail or else. And finally, they basically weren't going to give them any more extensions. And they basically put them against the wall and said, you got to build it. And then they threw bail reform into it, which now the matrix is all off. They don't know how many beds to build. Because is it really going to cut down on beds or is it really not? Nobody knows. So it couldn't happen at a worse time. So, but there are good things happening, and we are going to move forward. And we're not, like I say, the city's not giving up. Those projects will go forward, and they're separate from our budget. They're not going to affect us one way or another. So with that, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bayakowski?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Canali?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Mr. Bealey, second by Mr. Canali. Call the roll.
Councilmember Councilmember Veely?
Yes.
Pacino? Canali? McGinnis? Briggs? Christian? Bayakowski? Jankowski? Christian?